Hello folks, Craig Ripley here for another episode of Living Off the Slab. I know most of you out there saw my Ride Like a Pro video. Yeah, the one where I fell on my ass a couple of times. I'm not afraid to show you that stuff. It's all part of being a motorcyclist, right? It's part of the adventure. So one of those things that I'm interested in doing, along with that kind of a class where I learn low speed handling, is also learning how to handle the bike better at high speeds. That is, maybe out on a track. So that way, when I go out and I do something like the Tail of the Dragon or some twisty road up here in New England, I can be a safer rider and I can be a faster rider. So along with that Ride Like a Pro class this year, I also signed up for a non-sport bike day through Tony's Track Days down at the Thompson Speed Way in Thompson, Connecticut. Now what they do is basically allow anybody who's got a bike, any kind, to come out there and jump on the track. We had people, with small little kind of scrambler bikes, naked sport bikes. We had people with adventure touring bikes, and we had people like myself with these big old touring bikes. Gold Wings, Harleys, and Victories were all out there. And we were out there to try to, as I said, learn to be better riders and test ourselves in conditions where there's no cops, no rules, no other cars to worry about. All we have to worry about is how to get around that track as fast as we possibly can. But it's not just about going fast around the track, it's also about going safely around the track. If you can learn to do it out there, then you can take those skills and transfer them out to the road and make yourself a safer and better rider in everyday life. A lot of people have kind of balked when I've told them what the cost of this track day was, which it was $265, which does include the t-shirt. It's $250 if you don't want the t-shirt, but I had to have it, of course. But anyways, $265 for the day, and it's a full day. It's absolutely worth it. Everybody should do it who is a motorcyclist of any kind. It is well worth taking this class and learning the skills to become a better rider. So the track day started at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we were there, one, to tape up our bikes and then for a tech inspection. Now what I mean by taping up our bike is that they want all of the glass and plastic pieces on your bike, that is the tail lights and so forth, covered. Particularly they want the brake lights covered so that nobody can see through the tape, and they want the mirrors covered so if they do shatter, if you go down, they're not going to get all over the track. They also want some tape over your headlight for the same reasons. Now the reason they want everything taped up, especially when someone's following you, is they don't want them worrying about what you're doing in front of them. They want everybody to be concentrating on what they are doing, how they are getting around the track. And they don't want you looking in the rear view mirrors either to see what's going on behind you. Only what's in front of you is important. Remember that line from the Gumball Rally? Yeah, that movie from the mid-70s where everybody was racing across the country? Well, the guy grabs his mirror, throws it out of the car, and says, "What's behind me is not important." Well, that's true on the track. Now, there are all kind of rules and things that you have to do to your bike when you on a sport bike day, right? If you're going out the track on a regular basis. But for us non-sport bike riders, they relax the rules a bit. They just want to make sure your bike is in good mechanical condition. There's no fluid leaks on the bike, fork seals, no oil leaks and so forth that might get on the track. They also want to make sure that you have good tires, and they want to make sure that you have good brakes, and particularly your front brake. If you've got that, then they'll let you out on the track. Before I go any further, let me take a step back and talk more about costs. Because along with the track fee, the $265 for the class, there can be some other hidden fees in doing a track day if you're not prepared for it. And that is, there may be some equipment that you have to buy in order to be safe out there on the track. So the first thing that you have to get is a full face helmet, something like this. Now I didn't have one. I have a half helmet, I have a 3/4 helmet, but I did not have a full face helmet. Next thing you're going to need is some kind of riding jacket with armor in it, right? And they want CE approved armor with it. While they'll let you get away with like a small foam pad in the back, they would prefer that you've got a hard CE armor in the back. Now, something I did have to invest in, though, are some gauntlet-style gloves. They don't want you to ride in gloves that, are shorty gloves. They want something that comes up over your jacket and said covers your entire wrist. So I did invest in some Climb gauntlet style gloves. These happen to be waterproof gloves, so along with the track day I can wear them out when I'm touring, when it's raining, and I've already tried these out and they work fantastic. No water gets in these things at all. They're completely Gore-Tex line. They're not cheap. They're about $230 or so. Now, the last thing that you might need to purchase is a good pair of riding boots, something that's suited for the track. Now, this boot is from TCX. It's their what's called the track boot. It's a waterproof boot. Again, I got it so that if I go out touring and so forth, I can reuse this. It's not something I'm just going to use only when I go out to track days. But it does have some shin protection, it has toe protection, heel protection, and malleolus protection both medially and laterally on this boot. Now it costs about, said, $230 or so. Not a real expensive boot, but by no means inexpensive either. Alright, so after we got all that out of the way, after we got our taping done, our tech inspection done, we even had our gear inspected a little bit, you know, for the ones that had it. We basically headed out on the track. The rest of the day consisted of that. It alternated going out and doing about a 20-minute session on the track, in which you would get 5 or 6 laps around the track in. Then you would come in and you would do about a 20-30-minute session in the classroom before taking a little bit of a break and then heading back out on the track. And that's what the day was, just track, classroom, track, and classroom. For the classroom sessions, we were fortunate enough to have Ken Condon teaching those sessions. Now Ken, I'm sure that you probably recognize the name if you've been around motorcycling at all over the last few decades. Ken is a well-known motorcycle safety instructor, motorcycle track instructor. Ken's probably most famous book is Riding in the Zone. This book, along with the DVD, is really packed full of great information. If you don't have it, you should add this to your motorcycle library. The first session out on the track basically was follow the leader. One of the instructors who was out on the track with us, they led us around the track showing us the proper line and pointed it out as they went around. I was the first one behind the instructor, so I got to follow him for a couple laps before I peeled off, and the next person got to follow the instructor around. After that, we were out there on our own. The instructors are out there on the track helping us if we needed it, but it was up to us to figure out how to get around that track and apply the information that we were learning in the classroom. Now, there were X's on the track where the proper lines were going into the corners and coming out of the corners, and you were trying to hit those X's as you went around the course. The first few laps, man, we were missing them badly. You would come into the corner and you would try to hit the line and man, you just missed it. I mean, 3 or 4 feet off of it. But as the day went on, we got better and better, and we were able to hit those marks exactly where we wanted to, and we got faster and faster as we went around the track. Each session in the classroom would then cover different aspects of how to get around the track safely and quickly. We would first discuss every aspect, every corner of the track, the best lines to hit, how to take those corners. We talked about cornering in general, how to come out wide and then hit the apex of the turn. We talked about how to do our braking and our shifting before we got into the turn, and then how to initiate the lean so that we could get around that corner, again, quickly and safely. Stop here and talk about braking just a little bit, because I thought this was a really important thing that we learned in the track day, and that is that most of your braking power occurs in your front brakes. Right now, we've been taught. I mean, I know lots of riders out there that are afraid to use that front brake. They think it's going to throw them over the handlebars or something. So, well, that just isn't true. Unless you just grab just a complete handful of front brake, that isn't going to happen. Right? If you apply the brake evenly and firmly, then you're going to stop nice and smoothly. And particularly when you're on a track, you don't want to use the rear brake at all. And that is because at higher speeds, when you start to slow, your momentum, your weight of your bike is transferred onto that front wheel. Right? And if you use your rear brake, then you have lightened up the rear of the bike when you're stopping, and they can skid. You just don't want to do that. So you want to use that front brake. In fact, we were being encouraged during this whole track day not to even touch our rear brake if we could get away with it. It was hard for me to break that habit of using the rear brake, but by the end of the day I was getting better and better at it. I was getting where I was just using my front brake as I was going around the track. So now after braking, our next class basically covered leaning the bike, right? How to initiate lean, how to steer that bike around the corners. Now most of us know, in fact I'm sure every motorcyclist know, that you steer the bike by counter steering, right? If you're going right, you don't turn the bike right, you push the handlebar right, basically turning the handlebar back slightly to the left, but pushing the bike down into the corner, right, to initiate lean, to initiate your corner movement. So we again talked about that, but we talked about the importance of body position when you do that, when you initiate lean. And when you're at high speeds, you can decrease the amount of lean that you need to get around the corner by counterbalancing, that is throwing your body out to the side. And we can even do that on big heavy cruisers, like a Victory Vision or a Goldwing or a Harley Ultra Classic or something like that. We can still use our body position, and not to the same extent that you can on a sport bike, but you can still push that upper body over, throw a knee out, something that you can help yourself get around that corner without having to lean the bike over quite so much. And the reason you want to do that is because the amount of friction, the amount of traction that you have going to those wheels, right, particularly your front wheel, the front tire, right, is determined by the speed that you're going and how much lean that you have. The more that you lean, right, the less amount of traction that you're going to have. So if you can minimize the amount of lean you need going around the corner, you're going to be able to maintain your traction and go around the corner more quickly. Now for us big cruiser riders, that kind of seems counterintuitive to what most of us do going around a corner. Right? Most of us think, well, we just throw the bike over and until it scrapes. Right? We want to hear the scraping, we want to see sparks flying. I guess that means you're pushing your bike all the way to its limit, but it isn't necessarily the safest way to get around the corner or the fastest way to get around the corner. If you can go into that corner, pick your proper line, use your body to decrease the amount of lean that you need, then you can get around that corner without having to scrape parts, and you can get around that corner much more quickly. I guess that's one of the biggest things that I really learned at this track day, is that scraping stuff isn't necessarily the way that you want to do it when you're going around the corner. Okay, I'll shut up now. Here is the full lap around Thompson Speedway. Alright, so that's about it. All said and done, I will reiterate again. Taking this class was absolutely worth doing it. It's absolutely worth the cost. It's worth buying the extra equipment if you have to buy it. It was awesome. I'm going back and doing it again. I don't think I'll be able to do it this year, but next year I'm going to go back and do this non-sport bike day again. It's that good. Well worth the cost, well worth the effort. So I want to thank Tony and Ken and all of the other folks there that helped us out. There was a bunch of volunteers that were out on the track with us, and by the way, they're awesome. I mean, you should just see them going around these corners. I mean, it's just, we thought we were doing good, and then one of them would come by and, you know, give us a thumbs up and just whoosh around the corners. It was just amazing. That's the way that I want to eventually do it. But I want to thank all of them. Too many of them to mention, and I don't even remember all their names, but just great people. Really thank you so much for helping us out and making it a great time at Tony's Track Days down at Thompson Speedway in Thompson, Connecticut. Look it up online, www.tonystrackdays.com. If you want to learn more about Ken Condon and some of the classes and things that he has available, you can find him at www.ridinginthezone.com. He's got some cool classes out there where he will actually take you out for a single day or a multi-day tour and help make you a better rider.